Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Higurashi. So, let's see where we left off at. It's kind of starting to get to the point where some of the stuff was getting a little confusing. We might be able to do this one though. Maybe? Yeah, okay. When researching Hinamizawa syndrome, there's something very important that needs to be discussed first. If something happens to the Queen Carrier, the village will collapse. In his article, my grandfather called it the most dangerous situation. According to my grandfather, if the Queen Carrier dies, all the infected persons will go terminal within 48 hours. This may sound unbelievable at first, but research on the collapse of past local religions and group suicides around the world should indicate that there's some truth to it. Among all the mysterious incidents around the world, there are some that were caused by parasites controlling entire communities, very similar to Hinamizawa syndrome. Grandfather picked a few cases that are very similar to the syndrome and investigated them. As a result, he confirmed multiple cases of entire communities losing their minds after the death of a religious leader or founder and finally annihilating themselves. He stated that, on average, it happened within 48 hours. It's clear that infected people are affected by the Queen Carrier, and the condition of the Queen Carrier is, in fact, affecting the entire village. Our statistics already proved that on weeks Rika felt sick and visited the clinic, we saw an exceptionally high number of visitors. Rika being sick with a simple cold had a massive impact. If something particularly bad happened to her, we'd be facing a serious situation within 48 hours. That's why the Area Institute has to protect Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier. It's the most important mission of the Hinamizawa Syndrome Research Project. She's already agreed to help us in our research, but we have to be very careful to not put her in any danger. Also, we have to protect her from anyone who would try to harm her. Her life is equal to the lives of 2,000 villagers. But what if something happens to her by accident? The Area Institute must prepare for that situation. That's why I worked on the draft of an emergency manual when the Area Institute was first established. It's a precaution in case the Queen Carrier dies, or if infected people show acute symptoms due to the death of the Queen Carrier. This is an emergency procedure which must be followed within 48 hours of the mass occurrence of the acute symptoms. The final measure is to prevent the damage from spreading to nearby areas. The plan uses gas, making it look like a natural disaster. Yeah, that's familiar. My client, the Alphabet Project, took the responsibility of working out the details of the plan. They're used to dealing with things like nuclear and biological weapons, so they ended up being such a big help. There's no way I could have come up with a plan on my own to execute 2,000 villagers. Through a dummy company, the ground SDF has secured a closed quarry in the Yagochi region, upstream of Hinamizawa. It's to be the secret storage base for the equipment we'd use in that operation. Equipment that sprays deadly gas that kills people as if they were falling asleep is stored here. In the case of an emergency, a special unit of the ground SDF is to use this equipment to destroy the village. However, preparing for the execution of the villagers itself is politically dangerous. So if I'm going to insist on them getting the equipment ready, I have to make them understand how dangerous Hinamizawa syndrome is. And also how urgent the need is to have a contingency plan. I have to prove the need for the plan by showing them enough data. So the files my grandfather kept intact come quite handy. When the clients read my grandfather's articles about the syndrome, they were surprised to see how catastrophic things could be in the worst case scenario.
つまり女王である一人の少女に何かがあれば村人2000人以上が全員錯乱するということなのですね。
はい。ひなみ沢症候群に極めて類似するいくつかのケースでは集団自殺を示すものが少なくありませんが、ひなみ沢症候群の場合、強い疑心暗鬼や過剰なまでの危機意識から何かの過剰防衛を行う可能性があり、被害は感染者2000人にとどまらないものと推定されます。それらは無政府状態の暴動から始まり、猟奇的なあるいは宗教的終末感にも似た異常な状況を作り出すでしょう。これに対する事前の鎮圧策を用意しなかった場合、世界の注目を浴びることは避けられません。また、その猶予は事態発生から48時間しかありません。
つまり、いざことが起こったらもう誰にも防げないということですな。
感染者全員を48時間以内に全員治療することは不可能なのかね？
無理だろう。それに治療方法すら確立していないし、研究所の規模では村人全員の救済は物理的に不可能だ。
しかしこのような恐ろしく珍しい病気があるとは世の中わからんもんですな。
常に最悪の事態に備えることは国防にも通じますし、我々アルファベットプロジェクトの理念でもあります。そして使うことが目的なのではなく、備えることそのものが肝要なのです。
確かにおっしゃる通りですな。運用規定については決済区分の強化などまだ検討したいところはありますが、最悪の事態に対応する準備が必要だということは理解できました。
都市沈黙船の研究班にひなみ沢地区沈黙船のシミュレーションをさせましょう。これは至急行われる必要があると思います。
こうしている間にも女王感染者の少女が車にはねられて死んでしまう可能性だってあるのですから。高野さんさ、ありがとう。また質問しますので着席してくださって結構です。
Thanks to a push from one of my backers, things were decided without too much of a problem. It took me almost all day to explain it to them, but it only took a short time to come to a decision. Nobody criticized, ridiculed, or tried to reject my grandfather's articles out of hand. In the files they're all reading today are the very same shameful articles those haughty authorities left their footprints on as they trampled them in my grandfather's heart. But they aren't ridiculing the articles. They're reading what was once rejected. It's nothing big at a glance, but in this moment, my grandfather's research is being recognized for the first time. My heart is filled with satisfaction to see people discussing amongst each other while pointing to my grandfather's files and raising them as proof. I've worked so hard for this day. Grandpa in heaven, can you see this? I wonder what he thinks, of how this whole situation's going down, if he wanted all this. Alright, let's take a look around. We might have that one, but I'm not sure on that yet. I don't think we have that medicine yet. Okay, so we can't do that one. Deep down, I was prepared for something to happen tonight, once again. The first year, the workers were stirred into a frenzy, killing and dismembering the old man. In the second year, the Hojo couple were killed through a fake accident. Since the damn protests, only people who've been hated by the villagers died on the day of the Watanagashi. Some people in the village were calling the incidents the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Now that the damn protests are over, there would be no meaning in the village's enemies being killed on the night of the festival, I thought. If that was true, then there were still some enemies left over. I thought that perhaps that would happen again on the night of the festival 3 years in a row. My hunch was right. At first, however, it looked so natural that I didn't think anything of it. The festival was nearing its end, and the village officials were gathered under the main tent. They opened their beers and enjoyed the leftover corn and braised cow tripe from the refreshment stands. I was in the main tent too, being entertained by the villagers. So I was actually there at the scene of the 3rd year's incident when it happened. Yet I didn't notice anything at the beginning.
あれ、古手さん、どうしたよ。気分悪いのかい？
Most of the older folks in the village were heavy drinkers, but a few were lightweights too. The priest was one of the latter. The priest was a representative as well as a host during the Watanagashi festival. So every time visitors and guests arrived, he greeted them, and each time he was offered a drink. So by the night's end, he was pretty worn out. That's why I didn't think anything of it, to see the priest sitting by himself in a folding chair. The mayor, Kimiyoshi, was the one to tap his shoulder and ask him if he was alright.
大丈夫？飲みすぎだよきっと。何？胸が苦しいの？
すみません。ちょっと疲れたようです。
Sorry, I think I might be suffering from a predetermined death.
あれ、あんた心臓やってたっけ？急に痛くなるのは良くない兆しだよ。入江先生、先生！
どうしましたか？胸ですか？それは良くないですね。
When I saw what was going on, I noticed he was covered in a terrible sweat and was definitely not relaxing in his chair and enjoying the cool evening breeze. His face had a sickly pallor, and I thought he should lie down immediately.
ちょっと
Pallor?
診療所にお連れした方がいいかもしれません。大丈夫ですか？私の肩につかまれますか？
おいおい、誰か手伝ってやれ。神主さん、調子が悪いらしいぞ。
うちの人どうかしたんですか？あなた大丈夫？
He's got the bug.
高野さん、
He's got the
ちょう
virus.
ど良いところに。神主さんの具合が悪いようなので診療所に連れて行きます。すみませんが、境内の下に車を回してもらってもよろしいですか？
ええ、お安いご用ですわよ。
That's kind of weird. You know, just how nonchalant she is about that. So the priest and his wife headed to the clinic with Dr. Irie. I don't know about young people, but the elderly know their own bodies well. They almost never push themselves to the point where they start feeling ill. Especially someone like the priest. It was hard to imagine him drinking himself sick. The cumulative experience of my years was telling me something. I headed to the Irie clinic just in case. I tried to follow their car, but because the festival was almost over and all the stands were closing up, there was a lot of traffic going in and out, making it almost impossible for me to leave the temporary parking lot. More than 20 minutes had passed since the priest was carried in by the time I arrived at the clinic. 20 minutes. If it hadn't taken me 20 minutes, my involvement in this year's incident would have been quite different. I regretted not leaving on foot the moment I realized how hard it was to get my car out. All I get to do now is jot down the facts. Because between the time the priest left the festival and the time I arrived at the clinic, during those 20 minutes, this year's curse had taken place. The priest's condition had changed for the worse right after he arrived at the clinic. He died. Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad. The autopsy results say it was a heart failure. But how can I accept that? I don't think the priest was having health problems, and everyone was taken surprised by the sudden incident. Moreover, the wife of the priest disappeared too. According to the clinic staff, she was with him right after he died, But she's nowhere to be seen now. Oh, she's in the murder basement of the clinic. Of course, she's not at home either. Maybe someone poisoned the priest. During the dam conflict, the priest was frowned upon for his remarks. He said there was no need to make a big fuss, because the dam project would be cancelled anyway. The older villagers liked to hold grudges and hadn't forgotten that. So even I had heard word of them talking about how the priest wasn't fit for the shrine to Oishiro-sama. I called for backup and had them go search for the missing wife. With last year's falling couple incident as precedent, it was easy to believe both wife and husband could become victims. The village's youth group got organized and searched from the village to the mountains, and as a result, we found a set of sandals and a will by the edge of the Onigafuchi swamp. The will said something about how her husband's death was the curse of Oishiro-sama, and she was throwing herself in the swamp to calm the god's anger. In other words, she committed suicide by jumping into the swamp. Legends say that the swamp is bottomless and is connected directly to hell. Once you sink, you'll never come back. Divers from the police department searched the swamp, but her body was nowhere to be found. The past two mysterious incidents were solved individually, just as the higher-ups say, but something is odd about this year's mysterious death. The ill priest was carried to the clinic. His wife accompanied him. Within 20 minutes, the priest died of heart failure, and the wife either committed suicide or disappeared. The death of the priest may really have been a fatal heart attack. But for his wife to assume that it was the curse and to commit suicide by jumping into the swamp, for all that to happen in 20 minutes just doesn't seem natural. The Furude family has no relatives. Even if she was a true believer in Oishiro-sama, how could she commit suicide while leaving behind her one and only daughter? Irie is hiding something too. But he's just a village doctor, which means he's nothing more than their pawn. If this is all a conspiracy to assassinate the priest, then there's someone who's pulling the strings. I'd been starting to think that trying to tie the past two incidents to the village so forcefully was a bit overbearing of me, but this incident was enough to convince me that the series of cases involving mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa were all grounded in one intention. This incident has countless numbers of discrepancies, but someone from the village seems to be putting pressure on high command. And just like the past incidents, this one will be treated as an individual case and end up being forgotten. Since it happened 3 years in a row, everyone in the village will say it's the curse of Oishiro-sama. I think that's the culprit's goal. After the war, belief in Oishiro-sama became antiquated. Is someone committing these murders as a ritual to restore that god's dignity? The one pulling the strings must be the Sonozaki family. A few months passed. Oryu Sonozaki said something like, it was natural for that priest to be cursed by Oishiro-sama, and so the priest case was lumped together with the mysterious Hinamizawa deaths, otherwise known as Oishiro-sama's curse. At first, I simply wanted to avenge the old man. But now that case had grown into an abnormal one, centered on the village's faith. Dang it, the old man's killer is human. I won't let it be pushed off onto some nonsense curse. So I think that was Oishi, right? I thought at first it was going to be like the village leader, or the priest I should say, or maybe it was Irie, but that seems like that was Oishi, after all. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that probably opened something up. That would be the 3rd year curse of Oishiro-sama, right? Yes, it would be. The strange medicine that I can hardly remember was a capsule. I think if this is a red capsule, that's actually what I needed for another one. Or maybe it was an oval tablet. It was so red. There we go. It must have been a capsule. I can't imagine a tablet in that color. It must have been a capsule. I think it was a little bigger than a normal one. I think. I can't remember. Although I can hardly remember. If I see that medicine again, it'll refresh my memory. That medicine strips away humanity. It takes away a human soul, memory, emotion, and it numbs the human body. There are no thoughts, no interest, no will to stay awake or asleep. There's no sense of time. Sometimes a second can feel like an eternity. In other times I can almost see the hour hand move. Either way, there's no emotion involved. I can't feel any emotion. The medicine only lets me stay in bed and look up at the ceiling. Only the people who've taken it can understand this misery. What's more scary is that while I'm on the medication, I don't realize how scary it is. I'm given the medication daily and I keep losing all my senses. So when the medicine wore off by accident, I realized I should never take it again. That's right. This isn't medicine that will heal me. It's just going to kill me, slowly. If I continue to take this medicine, I probably wouldn't be able to tell if I was dead or alive, and I would end up losing myself forever. I'll keep looking up at the ceiling without any emotions, and keep watching the clock tick forever. If I take the medicine again, I'll lose all the senses I finally regained. I may never be able to bring myself back again. Since the day I realized that, I've been pretending to take the medicine, but throwing it away instead. If your doctor prescribes medication, you have to finish taking it, even if your symptoms are gone. I can hear my mother's voice. Anytime I went to the doctor's office when I was a child, my mother said that to me. I usually got well before I finished all the medicine, so I didn't finish taking the rest. That's why my mother said that. But this is a different type of medicine. I don't even remember how old I was when my mother said that. But with this strange capsule in front of me, I have to try and rid of my mother's voice from inside of my head. I pressed down on my head with my elbows until it hurt. Wait. Oh, I see. Okay. Trying to get rid of what my mother kept telling me. Right. As my head clears, I start to remember the ugly side of my mother. My mother betrayed her family. She betrayed me and my father, who waited for her at home with dinner on the table. She told us she was busy with work, but she was having an affair. That was bad enough, but she asked my father for a divorce after he took such good care of her for so many years. But there's something else I can't forgive her for. She invited only me to meet with her new family. Not my father, just me. My father and I are family. Family means being together. Is this Rika? I think this might be Rika. Or, sorry, Rena. Rena. Yes, my mother tried to destroy the bond between my father and me. Not only had she destroyed her bond with him, she tried to destroy my bond with him too. When I remember, it makes me feel angry and hateful, and I can't forgive her. The back of my eyes started to hurt, and I could feel the hatred on my face. That overflowing animosity is aimed not only at my mother, but also the man she had an affair with. The man she had an affair with. Uncle Akihito. I didn't like him teasing me, but he gave me an allowance and tried to have fun with me. I liked him very much, but his niceness was all calculated. He wanted to destroy the family bonds between my mother, my father, and me. That's why I shouldn't have said I liked him very much. That's right. I'm starting to remember and understand. I now know my true enemy. It was his fault that my mother started to have an affair. Because my mother was a very good mother. He was the one who made her a bad one. So he's the one who deserves the blame. When was the first time I met him? I think it was the time when my mother and I went out and had a lunch at a restaurant. She introduced him as one of her colleagues from work. At the time, if I think about that first meeting, I think I felt something wasn't right with the way my mother acted around him. That's right, I did. I did think something was wrong. It didn't feel right. I wish I'd trusted my instincts then. I was a fool to think he was a nice person just because he gave me a strawberry from his piece of cake. It wasn't my father's fault, because I bet he never met Uncle Akihito. But I have. I've met him many times, and there were a lot of chances to realize he was my enemy. If I had a strong enough will to protect my happiness, I could have noticed that. I can't forget how my father looked on that day. My father, who was so nice and gentle, grabbed his knees so tightly and cried so hard. He asked me if I knew Uncle Akihito. I answered yes. Then he slapped me in the face. When he slapped me, I finally realized how stupid I was for being taken in by him. That's right, it was my fault. I destroyed the happiness I'd hoped to last forever with my own hands. If I hadn't been that stupid, my father wouldn't have had to cry like that, and my mother would have stayed good. If I wasn't that stupid, it was my fault. I can't forgive my mother and Uncle Akihito. Even when I hate him this much, I still call him Uncle, and I can't forgive myself for that. It was my fault. Everything was my fault. I was too stupid and foolish, and that's why this happened. I hate her. I'm sad. I'm frustrated. I can't stop being angry. If my mother ever came back to this house, I would rip her apart with my hands. But she never came back. My anger turned towards everything that my mother left in the house. I destroyed every relic my mother left behind, one after another. I threw and smashed everything. But that still didn't calm me down. Even after I turned the whole house upside down, I still couldn't calm my anger. Where does my anger gather? It starts from inside of me, goes through my arms to my fingertips, and spurts from my nails. Where else can it go? So my nails aim at my own body. My body is the filthiest and most disgusting thing of all. I'm the one to be blamed. No, I'm not to blame. My mother's... Jeez, calm down. The flip between who's to blame is very fast. My mother's most at fault. My mother's the most corrupt. My body and my soul feel filthy. I wanted to stain myself black and slice the remaining flesh into pieces. And one day, I finally realized. There are tons of maggots in my blood. Yep. This is Rena. I'm rotten. I'm rotten from the inside. Come on, rot more. But it's indescribably itchy. It is itchy, 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 itchy. I stabbed my thigh with a razor blade in the bathroom. The blood flowed out. Reddish black maggots spilled out. I forced myself to open my blood vessels with my thumbs. Ooh, no. That sounds unpleasant. The maggots spilled out. Squirm, 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 squirm. Oh, that's a lot of squirming. So many maggots spilled out from my left eye. There are probably just as many in my right thigh. Maybe my calves too. My arms, abdomen, chest. No. How many maggots are there in the blood vessels in my neck? Strangely, although I've become rather insane, there's still a part of me that is calm. If I keep ripping myself apart like this, I'll end up dead. But everything is my fault, and I'm the one to be blamed. Even if I blame my mother, the only way I can disgrace her is with my own body. Oh, I get it now. That's the best means for quelling my anger. I feel like I'm thinking incredibly rationally now. In order to forgive myself, I need someone else to blame. It is to be someone else's fault. But no such person exists. No matter how much I think about it, or how I twist the logic, my own body is my only outlet to vent this anger. So long as there's no one else to blame, I'll be forced to rip open every blood vessel in my body. Just like no matter how much I scratch, it still itches. No matter how much I rip apart my own body, it's not enough. The blood is all over the bathroom, and I'm sure it makes for quite the gruesome scene. Although I'm trying to stay calm, I can't ignore the sharp pain that runs through my body. Maybe because I've lost so much blood, or maybe because I'm naked in the bathroom, I feel freezing cold. My whole body is throbbing, and my heart is beating so fast. I'm cold and hot at the same time, and I'm also sad, angry, and in pain. I want to find something that lets me forgive myself. Then, it came in a heavenly light. It was mysterious and unreal, like something out of this world. It apologized. It kept apologizing. Why is it apologizing? You apologize when you're at fault. So this thing I just met for the first time was admitting to wronging me. That means I'm not at fault. It's at fault, not me. I dropped the razor blade. It fell into the puddle of blood. The pain is taking over my body. The pain of ripping apart my own body is taking over me. I've been telling myself this pain is the punishment for what I've done. But I'm not at fault. It is. So I don't need to accept this pain as a punishment. So I don't need to defile my body anymore. She continued apologizing to me over and over as I stood there covered in fresh blood. She apologized every time I wanted to blame myself, constantly whispering that it wasn't my fault. Oyashiro-sama exists. She is always following me. Pit, pat, pit, pat. And every time I can't endure the guilt, she apologizes and tells me I'm not at fault. Everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Things started to go wrong when I broke the rule that I wasn't supposed to leave Hinamizawa. I finally remember. When I moved from Hinamizawa, one of my neighbors gave me a charm. She said that if I left Hinamizawa, I'd be cursed, so I had to take the charm. That's right, she gave me a charm. It had some complicated writing on it, but I haven't seen it since I moved here. I may have lost it. There's nothing I can do about that. If Hinamizawa residents leave Hinamizawa, they'll be cursed. My mother and I, even Uncle Akihito too, may have gone insane because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody was at fault from the beginning, because everything is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Nobody is at fault. Nobody. I'm finally able to forgive everything. The anger that I couldn't get rid of, even after I destroyed everything, including my body and soul, is finally gone. Father, now I know. The curse of Oyashiro-sama is what caused my mother to leave, and for you to be so sad. You remember Oyashiro-sama, don't you? The guardian deity of Hinamizawa. That's right. People of Hinamizawa aren't supposed to go to the outside world. That's why Mother went insane. It's all because of the curse of Oyashiro-sama. If we had stayed in Hinamizawa, we would have been happy. Oyashiro-sama came to me and told me that. Come to think of it, Oyashiro-sama has been trying to tell me that for a long time. After Mother left, I didn't know why she left or how to express my anger. Oyashiro-sama has been following me ever since then to let me know that. She followed me everywhere, the sound of her footsteps echoing behind me. But I pretended I didn't notice her. I was so stupid. I didn't hear her voice until I slashed my body all over. If only I'd listened to Oyashiro-sama's voice. I bet she started warning me once Uncle Akihito came into my life. If the whole family had gone back to Hinamizawa, my mother wouldn't have had an affair. We would have been happy there. I bet Oishiro-sama has been trying to tell me that. That's right. She must have been trying to warn me ever since we left Hinamizawa. She was always with me. She followed me everywhere. I was stupid, trying to pretend I didn't notice. Everything was because of that stupidity. If I'd noticed Oishiro-sama's voice, my family wouldn't have suffered from the curse. It's all my fault. Oishiro-sama is apologizing. She keeps apologizing, which means this is all her fault. So this isn't my fault, is it? Because this is the curse of Oishiro-sama, right? She's apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Oishiro-sama is apologizing repeatedly. So, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't hear your voice. We are from Hinamizawa, so we have to keep hearing your voice. Oishiro-sama definitely exists. Can't you hear, Father? Don't you see? Oishiro-sama's right there apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. Come on, Father, let's apologize too. Mother, you don't have to apologize. You should die because of the curse. I hate you, Mother. I hate you. I hate myself for being your daughter. These maggots are your fault. They make me itch everywhere. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I don't want that medicine. My mother got it to kill me, so I don't want it. I won't take it. I told you I won't take it. Stop, stop. This is a curse, so you can't fix it with medicine. It won't get rid of the maggots because this is a curse. No, I don't want a shot either. Stop, stop, stop. It hurts. Everything is falling into a gray world. The voices of my father and the doctor sound so far away. Even what just happened seemed like it happened a long time ago. Again, I'm given the capsule, and even my memory from a minute ago is gone. Jeez. It's just like the thoughts of a madman are kind of humorous and also unsettling, of course. I'm back in my bed, staring at the ceiling. In what I can see, the only thing that interests me is the hands on the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I follow the minute hand as it goes around quickly, and the hour hand as it goes around slowly. I see other things too. But they keep going through the same motions, just like the hands on the clock. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Oishiro-sama keeps apologizing. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Repeating over and over, constantly, and nothing else. The chorus of the Higurashi coming through the windows during the night seems louder than usual. Whew. So yeah, that was the red capsule one. So we should be able to move forward there.